I get the opportunity to look at some really awesome rigs here on this channel all the time, and today the one we're looking at is really special. It's a very well built Overland Jeep, and it's got a lot of really cool small little details I think you guys are really going to enjoy. Stay tuned. Welcome to TrailRecon. I'm Brad, and today on this episode, I'm here with Ollie. Morning, man. Thanks for coming out this morning.
How's it going?
We are taking a look at his amazing Overland Jeep, dude. This thing is beautiful, and you just got back from SEMA.
I did, yeah. It's actually, wow, it's been a month already. But yeah, we went to SEMA. I went to SEMA, and it was a great experience.
Yeah, and I've been following it on Instagram for a while, but there's a story behind this, and I really want you to share that with folks. So tell us a little bit about what this Jeep is and the story behind it.
Right, well, it was a SEMA build that was never intended to be a SEMA build. Yeah. So the reality is I just built it, and then sponsors, you know, come in, and SEMA is such a big deal, so then it becomes a SEMA build. But honestly, there was no intent to go to SEMA, but I got lucky enough to be able to be part of that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Now, how long have you had this?
I've had this for a little bit under a year now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a 2016 Jeep Rubicon, just standard edition.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was the inspiration for bringing it to where it is today?
Okay, so for that we got to go back a couple years.
Okay.
I had another car. I'm not going to name names, but it was a wagon.
Okay.
It was all-wheel drive, and it was based off all the marketing designed to go out there and get your family out there and have a really good time. And so we were just going to Wrightwood on New Year's Day a couple years back, and I took the boys, my wife, and I'm like, we're gonna go. And there was unfortunately a fatality accident up Wrightwood, and we were on our way to Mountain High. Long story short, I'm taking Waze's like suggestions, and we take one road, and it's kind of muddy, and the kids are loving it. We're like bouncing around, and like, all-wheel drive, baby, we're good. And so we get through that road, and we save 15 minutes. I'm like, done. I'm all, we keep doing this. Like all these other guys, they could stay on the main road. I'm gonna take these side roads. Right. And so Waze once again, hey, take the side road. You're gonna save another 15. Yeah. Awesome. Take that 15, and that 15 turned into a 12-hour ordeal. Stuck on a mountain, separated from the family for about 8 hours, totally unprepared. Oh my gosh. 6 inches of mud, gravel, freezing cold water. There was like patches of snow still on this road. It was, you know, kind of not the best season, but yeah. And anyways, long story short, I didn't get the car out until the following day. Yeah. And a great guy by the name of Steve Ball, a Wrightwood local, pulls me out with his Jeep. And you know, it was just built to the nines. Like everything was done, long arm trowel, all that. And first time I ever got hooked up to a winch. and it's like it made me realize, A, I work for a company that's built on being prepared, 511 Tactical. I was not prepared. Yeah. B, I want to go out and do these like great things with the family. Again, unprepared. Like even a small little side road with a little bit of mud, like totally trumped our entire day. Sure. Made it so that my kids, for like months afterwards, we'd go to the grocery store, we'd go to the movies. Are we gonna get stuck in mud? Are we gonna get stuck in mud? It's like, no, we're not gonna get stuck in mud. We're going to the grocery store, you know? So as a father, I'm like, what am I doing? Yeah. Like, I'm not living the life that I see myself living. Right. Or at least I'm not prepared for it. So I was still like under payments, and I'm like, all right, we'll just get through the payments and we'll see what happens.
So no off-roading for a long time, obviously.
No off-roading at all. I went on some camping trips. We do like a yearly calico trip with some buddies at work, and it's a great time, but I'm the guy kind of pulling my tent out and, you know, bins out. And I didn't want to be that guy anymore. And so I finally get out from under my payments. And I'm like, honey, I'm ready for a new car. She's like, what do you want? I'm like, I'm thinking a Jeep. Yeah. You know, and you know, Steve's rig like really like, you know, stuck with me. And so we picked this up, and all I wanted to do was just maybe get a winch, like a bumper and a winch. I went to Amazon, got these hood latches, bought those, and I'm like, okay, my hood's no longer doing this thing, you know? Yeah. And that's where I was. Sure. Just small little steps.
You just wanted to keep it simple and just go use it.
Super simple. Like,
but you got the bug. Well, awesome. Well, let's start talking about what you've done to it, man. I think there is a lot to talk about, and I know these guys are very interested in it. Let's talk about the wrap, because I think that stands out the most. At least that was the first thing I noticed. It's just, it's beautiful. What did you wrap this with, and what's the story behind it?
So the company I work for, they were based off of a pant that was designed by Royal Robbins. Okay. And he was one of the pioneers of Yosemite. So Yosemite to me is a part of our story. It's like part of our DNA. I found the topo for Yosemite, which is what we use for a lot of our creative. I covered the vehicle in that.
That's cool. It's a cool color too. It's, I mean, it's, yeah.
The color. So it's been likened to an avocado. It's been likened to various types of guacamole.
Yeah.
And it was intended to be flat dark earth. So,
okay.
Alive Wraps did not print it.
Yeah.
We got another company to print it. Their Pantone chart was totally off from my Pantone chart for whatever reason. And so we ended up with this really unique color, which I've grown to love.
Yeah.
But it was always intended to be a little bit more khaki than what you see. But yeah, it came out great. Eddie from Alive did an amazing job on wrapping it, making it look like people come, is that paint? I'm like, no, it's a wrap. But
they did a great job. Yeah. It looks really good. Okay, let's talk about, you got a lot going on in the front here.
Right. So I went to Evo. I had a rendering, and the rendering was with a stinger like this and this type of bumper and with this low setup because I wanted to make sure like I had max airflow going into the engine bay. I didn't like the really high up ones too much myself.
So what bumper is this?
Oh, so this is the quarter pounder bumper.
Quarter pounder.
And the stinger is a separate piece, so it's not one piece. And they said, they're like, that's really aggressive for an overland build. Well, I'm like, I'm not really doing totally overland. I've got my own style too. Okay. And so I wanted something that if I was ever going to go endo, it helped.
Yeah, for sure. And it looks good.
And it looks really cool. Yeah, I mean, look, aesthetics is a big part of what we do.
Yeah,
so,
for sure. Now, what winch have you got tucked in there?
So I've got the 10,000 pound Super Winch EXP series. It's a synthetic rope. They make a good product. It's a new winch for their company, fairly new.
Is it wireless?
They have a wireless remote.
Okay.
And then they also have a wired port. And then they've got a really cool thing where you can actually have accessory ports. Okay. They have 2 accessory ports. And then they've got the rail system on the back. So if you have accessories that go on those rails, you can add them to this.
Okay. Yeah. And you got the Factor 55 up the front?
Right. Factor 55. They make those really cool pieces that I think a lot of people in our world, off-road and overland, we just kind of gravitate to them because it's like cool little stuff. Yeah. So yeah, they've got this rope guard, which is a separate piece. They've got their ultra hook, which I had to have because it's just so cool and it's super uber functional. Right. And then their fair lead on the front, and then we've also got their hitch link on the back as well, and a couple of those shackles that they sell as well.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I use it as well. Okay, I want to talk about lights, but first, this is not the Hard Rock edition, but you have the Hard Rock hood similar to it. Yeah,
DV8 gave me their 10th anniversary hood.
Okay.
And I've also got the rock doors, but they're not on. But yeah, good product. I actually thought it was going to be fiberglass, and it came in like steel. I'm like, awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, really cool.
Well, you got a lot of lights, so tell us what you've got.
Sure. So I've got the infamous Pro 6 gravity LED bar from KC. Yeah. And then coming down from there, we've got the Gravity G34 A-pillar lights.
Okay. And you got them angled out, which is good because then you get
ditch
that
lights.
Side light.
They're ditch lights. You know, they're not. I've already got the bar. I've got these headlights. Yeah. So I got the KC Gravity headlights, which are amazingly bright. So I don't need the A-pillar lights to like be facing forward. Right. And then in conjunction with that, we've got the Gravity fogs, and the two together is an amazing beam pattern. Yeah. It just illuminates everything in front of me, so I am like beyond happy. Yeah. You know, the biggest reason to go with KC originally was for the headlights, because the stock they were kind of like candlesticks. You know, like I'd almost be wondering if my lights were on. I have no doubts now. Yeah.
Now I like how you did the fog lights up here. Is this a custom mount or is
this is a custom mount? So Castle Fabrication, John over at Castle was a huge partner in everything that was done on the rig. Okay. And he came up with some really cool and ingenious ways of making things work, because with this bumper we didn't have a fog light placement. So he created these brackets that can actually, like, you know, still be angled. If you look at the back, there's still an opportunity to angle them, and it's great.
Yeah, I love it's the little touches like that I like. It's a little custom touch like that you don't see on everybody's Jeep, and I think that's really cool. Okay. Now we got to talk about the thing that's just been staring me in the face, and that is what's behind the grill, man. Talk about what we got under the hood. Yeah, so
a lot of people have kind of commented on that. They're like, why are you supercharged a Jeep? I'm like, well, we've got so much weight that we put into these rigs. So it's a dog, like without a little bit of extra power, and especially if you don't do gearing, right? Right. I went with the RIP supercharger. It's been pretty tried and true. They've been doing it nonstop for like well over a decade. I think since the beginning of the JK on this Pentastar motor. And as soon as we got it installed over at Rebel Off-Road,
yeah,
it was as if my vehicle went back to stock.
yeah.
And that's all I wanted. I'm not going to go down the quarter mile. I'm not like looking to race people off the light.
Sure.
I just want to be able to get to where I'm going. Right. In a nice, you know,
when you're getting on the freeway now,
yeah.
It's no problem.
I don't want to worry about a car like, you know, smashing into me or that semi coming. Yeah.
Right. Totally. Well, what else you got under the hood?
We've got Genesis Off-Road, their dual battery system with twin Odyssey Deep Cycle Group 34 batteries.
Okay.
I also have my S-Pod.
Okay.
Date Switch SE system.
And you got a lot of stuff that's hooked up to that, which we'll talk about when we get to the interior for sure.
And then another cool little thing is I put a couple Cyclones underneath the KC Cyclones underneath the hood. Nice. So when I pop it open, I've got a good like work area.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, dude, it's beautiful up front, but let's roll over to the side and talk about tires and suspension.
Right on, can't wait.
All right, man, let's talk tires and suspension. What are you running?
Right on. So we got Icon alloys, the rebounds for the wheels, and I wrapped those with the Cooper Discover SST Pros.
Okay.
It's a 12.5 by 37 inch tire.
Yeah.
Awesome. I've had no issues so far.
Yeah, I ran these tires for a while, and they're great off-road.
Right on.
And these are not a beadlock, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Now, what do you got underneath? There's a whole lot of suspension on there we got to talk about.
There's a whole lot of suspension. I am not a suspension expert, but I did become a suspension install expert through doing this. But we've got a cool story. I like to think it's a little unique compared to what a lot of other people do, where we have a coilover up front. The rear's a coil spring.
Okay.
And the reason for this is I have the ability to adjust the front, which we're at around a 4.5 inch lift on this.
Yeah.
But then if I'm under any major load or I'm hauling something, A, my rear is a lot stronger.
Yeah.
B, I can adjust the front to match the rear.
Yeah. And it's a full kit under there.
It's full kit, upper, lower, everything. Yeah, it's all done.
Okay.
It's been great.
Yeah.
The ride has been amazing. So
that's all that matters.
Yeah, really. I mean, off and on road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With all this weight, because you're pretty heavy, right?
Very heavy. Yeah. Yeah. It's all steel, so I don't think we'd put anything aluminum on this.
Right. Okay. Now, what about axles? What do you got?
So axles is cool. It's one of the first parts aside from suspension that we kind of tackled because I did a little bit of research. You know, you don't want to go into this totally blind.
Yeah.
And one thing I kept hearing about were people like breaking parts, and one of the parts that they were breaking were their axles when they're out on the trail. And I plan to do the Rubicon. That's like a big piece of my story to kind of put the cap on it.
Sure.
We went with RCV. They have a CV axle which replaces the stock U-joint, which tends to have some binding issues. I never experienced it, but you go with a CV, you've got a full lock. You've got just as strong of an axle as you do going straight. So we went with their Ultimate Dana 44 axle, which is a upgrade on the Dana 44, which is already a strong axle.
Yeah.
And then we also gusseted the C's as well as added some skids to the lower control arm bracket.
Okay, and what gears are you running in there?
513s from Yukon.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about drive shafts? Are they stock?
So no, we went with JE Reel. Okay. They're 1350 drive shafts, front and back. I'm glad I don't have a story to tell about how I broke anything.
Right.
But I know with that setup, we're not going to break it.
Yeah, I've seen plenty of stock drive shafts break, so that's a must upgrade, I think, when you start doing all this kind of stuff. Now, what about Under Armour? Have you plated under there?
No, so that's one of those future state items. There's quite a few of those in my head that I've been building a list of, but yeah, you know, all the skids, especially once we start really going into the rocks and stuff, I want to address that.
Right. Let's talk fenders. What are you running?
So these are the Evo Radius fenders. Awesome fenders. I could stand on these.
Yeah.
A lot of points of contact within the vehicle, and they're just really solid.
Okay. Rock sliders under Evo?
Yeah, it's the bomber sliders. It's a two-part, so it's not just a slider, but it's also the skin.
Yep.
So we get the benefit of the armor and the slider all in one package.
All right, we got to talk about the side steps because I know when I had mine on there, people ask all the time, what is that on the side of your door? So tell us, what do you got?
So you go to SEMA and you've got a rig that's got like, God, I don't know, like tens of thousands of dollars of parts. Another Amazon buy, one of my first ones after I got my hood latches.
Yeah.
Side steps. Everybody asking me about them. I mean, I had people DMing me on Instagram and at the event. Hey, by the way, I saw your rig, great rig. What are those side steps?
Yeah.
Who makes those?
Yeah.
So they're Smittybilt Atlas side steps.
Yeah.
They're great.
Yeah, they're great because you're using them a lot to do opening and closing of that tent. Tell us what you're running up top.
Yeah, so we've got the Free Spirit High Country 80-inch tent.
Yeah.
It was one of those things that kind of got dictated by the wife. She loves to go.
How that works.
Yeah, she loves to go camping, but she's not stoked about rocks and how uncomfortable it could be. And I'm like, give me my 1% tent. I'm out there like with my semi bag, fine. But so we got that. Both kids, my wife and myself, plenty of room. It's like a king size bed.
Nice.
It's amazing.
How's the mattress?
Mattress is great. It's got that nice foam mattress. Yeah, I really like it.
Okay, I mean, it's large. It takes up your entire rack.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah,
and now, what rack do you have there?
Yeah, so the Rhino rack, it's the largest that they make.
Yeah.
It's the Pioneer rack with the quick mount system.
Yeah.
It's fantastic, and it also has the backbone. So we're not just mounted to the fiberglass of the hardtop.
Yeah.
We're also through the hardtop into like sitting on top of the frame, basically.
Yeah. Now, you've got an awning that I've been eyeballing for a while. Tell us what you got, man.
Yes. So we've got the Batwing. It's a 270-degree coverage awning, and I've used it more wrenching on the vehicle than I have actually like going camping.
Just setting it up when you're out turning wrenches.
It's great just in the driveways.
Awesome. Well, let's roll to the back and talk about what's going on in the rear. And what I love about the backs of Jeeps is they all look so different, and yours is very unique. Tell us about what you've got going on back here.
So again, the story of not being your typical overland rig.
Yeah.
When I was speaking to the guys, they were like, "Oh, that's a really aggressive tire carrier." I'm like, that's what I want. So it's super beefy, super durable. I can even stand on it. Yeah. It's got these really durable Johnny joints on the ends. So I really like that. And then
now you've got to pop these though to open the door, right?
Correct.
So 2 stages.
Right, but I've made my life a little easier. So I bought these after the fact. It comes with pins, and the pins have the retainer clips. I kind of upgraded with these quick pulls.
Okay.
But I will say the ones that they come with are like super solid. Like there's no play. There's like maybe a little bit of play with these ones, but still great.
No rattle when you're driving down the road.
No rattle, nothing. Yeah, it's great.
Cool. What do you got back here?
Talk to back tracks, and it's funny because I feel like, heaven forbid, but there might be a point where I might have to use them, but I wanted them for other people too. So I wanted to make sure that I had stuff that will help others.
Sure.
Like a lot of the equipment I have as well, like it's recovery gear for other people. My hope is to be able to get out there and help others.
Yeah.
So I've got these on there, so if somebody's stuck, throw it under, get them out.
With these big old tires, man, you're probably never
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
Okay, what bumper we got down there?
It's the Pro Series bumper.
Okay.
Got a couple shackles hanging off to those, and yeah, it's also done by Evo.
Okay.
Great bumper, nice and tight.
Now let's talk about your trasheroo back there. You know, you've got it mounted a little differently than everybody. Tell us why you got that.
Yeah, you know, this is my Jeep.
Yeah.
Her name is Kate. This is my girl, and it's kind of like my style. It's a part of me. So, you know, growing up in the automotive industry, I've always had a car that represented me as a person. And you know, sure, everyone holds them up. A lot of people hold them up high. But I can fit like 2 cases of beer in here still, and a bunch of trash that I find on the trail. So it still works. It's functional, but it just happens to hang a little low. Okay. I get calls from time to time. Hey, your trasheroo is hanging low. I'm like, yes, it is.
Cool, awesome. Now, what's side plating here is that?
So this is the corner armor.
Okay.
Also a Mevo. And it comes with their trailer lights as well.
All right.
And this was probably one of the more sketchier things that I've done, because you actually have to cut into the vehicle.
Yeah.
And it's that first cut which is the hardest. And since then we've kind of drilled into the rig, and it's been easier. But that first one was tough. But it came out great, and it works fantastic. And we kind of had to do that because the stock tail lights wouldn't accept this type of tire carrier. You needed to do this. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And now this light is supplied with the kit, is that right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
now,
they sell that light.
Now what are you doing for reverse lights?
I'm currently using my KC C-Series C2 floodlights, and I've got them on the rear, I've got them on the sides. I plan to maybe upgrade this light into a dual system where it's got a reverse and a brake and a running light.
Nice. So we've talked about a lot of stuff on the exterior, but before we get inside, man, there is one thing that I have been waiting to look at. This is probably one thing I was really excited about today. Let's roll over here and show these guys about what we've got here on the side.
The hard box. Yeah.
All right, look, storage is a rare commodity on the Jeep, and the minute you posted this on Instagram, I was already drooling. Tell these guys what this is all about here.
Tell me about it. So the original plan was to use one of the 511 hard boxes, and I had one of our boxes actually kind of fits nice in this space, and I talked to John over at Castle Fab, and I'm like, hey, I want to put a hard box in. He goes, dude, I've already got this idea. And I go, what is it? He goes, well, I don't really have a name for it yet, but it's a storage compartment that's lockable and swings open and has MOLLE on the inside. I'm like, okay, I'm down.
Yeah.
You've helped me so much, let's do it. Let's do your vision. So he came up with what we ended up calling together the hard box light.
And this is the first one.
And yeah, this is actually a proto. It's not even the first one, it's a proto. So the actual production has a little bit more functionality. It's got interchangeable lids and a different plate on the inside for MOLLE. But yeah, let's check it out.
Open it up, man. Show these guys what it is.
So it's got a 15-pound shock right now. I believe he's increased that to 20 pounds.
Okay.
So you don't get that slight lag.
Okay.
So we've worked out the kinks there, and then it's got a full cutout Molly panel in the back. It's all aluminum. It's fully sealed, super solid. He cranked this out in like 2.5 hours.
Wow.
It came out of his head. He didn't even like draw. It was amazing. I was like watching him build it, and came out really well. And what I've used it for is I have my basic IFAC.
Yep.
Just pockets for like sunscreen. I've got some spices here for like when we go cooking.
Sure.
And then instant coffee, spoons, some snacks.
Stuff you use a lot that's easy to get to. Or if you need an emergency.
Yeah, just little things or emergency. And you know, I don't have to pull up in these latches and get into the back of the rig. I can just grab what I really need. And one of the future state pieces is having this panel come up so I can access my goose gear side cubby.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of cool stuff coming on the system.
Yeah, it's got a lot of potential. That's very cool, man. I'm really digging it. When we were setting up over here at the camera, there's something else that caught my eye. Can you tell these guys about how you've got everything wired into your Jeep?
Sure. And I'd love to say it was my idea, but I actually enlisted help. So my buddy Greg, who works over at Goose Gear, he does a lot of their electrical, and the guy's just a genius. Yeah. And I told Greg, yeah, man, I need help on getting all my lighting installed. And he's like, what can I do? And like, that's how he came to it. What can I do? And it's like, wow, man, like, what do you want me to give you? He's like, nothing, just what can I do to help you? So he knew I was under the wire, and he came up with this. No pun intended. Right. He came up with this thing. I guess it's a Blue Sea piece. Okay. I don't know the exact name of it, but it allows you to drill through the top and seal it off, so you can run all your wiring through and then have a nice seal. It's like all marine grade stuff. Oh, nice. And we RTV'd the heck out of it. Yeah, the wiring for the side lights, the rear lights, all run through this one conduit straight down next to where the roll cage bar is, so you don't even see it on the inside. Yeah. Down through the bottom, along the bottom of the chassis, and up into the engine. So it's not running through your interior, except for the right there. Right. Nice. It's a very clean look, man. Yeah, it's really nice. I'm super happy with it. Well, speaking of interior, let's pop this inside open, because there's a lot going on inside this Jeep. There is. All right, so this is the business end of things. Now, when you get to camp, you've got to have all your supplies. What do you got back here? All right, so my buddy Matt at work, he's got an amazing Land Cruiser that he's built out, and he actually had this company called Goose Gear in his rig, and it was like all organized, and you know, being the guy in the wagon who had like bins stacked and stuff just jammed in, looking at what he had, I'm like, wow, that's awesome. And the fact that he had his fridge, I'm like, he had everything ready to go, and he had like good food, and I'm there eating freeze-dried food. Sure. We went with the Goose Gear plate system. It plates out the entire rear. You can even take it through the passenger seats, the rear passenger seats, but I have 2 kids, so that's not happening. Sure. So we just plated out the rear behind the seats, and then we boxed out the sides. They call them the side cubbies, the JK side cubbies. Yeah. So it gives you 2 cubbies on both sides. So now I have storage where usually it's dead space. Yeah. So it's kind of getting that space you didn't even know you really had, similar to the hard bikes. Right, yeah, you've got all kinds of stuff that's tucked up on the shelf now, and then everything's really easy to mount to the base of this as well, right? Correct, yeah, I mean, this whole kit just bolts into pre-drilled mounts with already it's already threaded. Yeah. And so they gave me a drawer module. They hooked it up with the camp kitchen. I believe it's a 2.3. Okay. It's a dual drawer system, so the fridge is on a drawer, but then you've also got this piece right here, and they make these really cool wooden baskets that you can keep your spices and different, like, you know, utensils in. But I've kind of purposed it for my emergency road kit, my axe, and my tire repair kit, and it all just fit perfect. So it was like a real no-brainer. That's easy to access too, which is nice. You're 100% not, like, picking out of stuff. Yep. Okay. And then it all stays put. Like, I haven't had any issues on bumpy trails or anything. Right. And what do you got in the drawer? Yeah. So this is really cool. So the drawer module gives me the opportunity to put a lot of my recovery gear. I have a thigh rig. It's an IFAC thigh rig. So if we go off to go shoot on some BLM land, I've got my blowout kit right with me. Yeah. And then I've got this really cool 200-watt solar blanket from Off Grid Trek, which is a godsend on longer trips. Yeah. As well as a 28-watt module underneath it for my backpack. Tire deflator, and just some odds and ends, bug spray, stuff like that. Easy to get to though. I like the drawer. That's nice. Absolutely. Now, what fridge is tucked up inside this thing? I went with their 42-liter Snowmaster Traveler Series. Okay. It's a great fridge. I always have beer on me, which I get a lot of jokes about. I'm not drinking it when I'm driving. It's just, for instance, at SEMA, I was the guy the sponsors were coming to grab a beer and talk and hang out. So it's, you know, and the kids drinks, right. Kids food, just you know, fresh fruit, like, you know.
Yeah, it's
awesome. It's awesome when we go out just for a day trip. So
sure.
It's really
now,
nice.
Are you doing a lot of cooking, or does your wife do the cooking?
We both cook. I was lucky enough to connect with Camp Chef, and they hooked me up with their Mountaineer 2-burner stovetop. Okay, you're throwing it out on the shelf. Everybody loves that one, man. I think it's the best table out there. Outback Adventure Products. Yeah. It's their Trailgator. It's awesome. It comes. You can get it with a standard cutting table or this really nice bamboo one. I went with the bamboo. It folds out, pulls out. Yeah. It's really nice. Nice. And what else do we got? We also have these cool little LED lights. I mean, I just picked these up at Overland West. When I was magnet there, huh? It's got a little magnet. It's got a hook too, so you know if you want to hook it from something. But just a cool little like a little Amazon light or something. Yeah, yeah. Very cool. And now you've got a light strip up here too. Yeah, speaking of lights, so this was another one of those Amazon buys. But this is it's actually molded for this rear lip, and it basically illuminates the entire rear of the vehicle, which is nice. So I don't really have to hang the lights. I just have this hands-free. I like it. Very clean. It's super clean. Very clean. Well, a lot of good stuff here, but man, let's get up in the cab and see what you got going on there. Let's do it. Ollie, you've got a very functional interior, man. You've got a lot going on in the back seats in the front. Just talk us through it, man. So it's my command center. I don't know, I'm kind of like a tech geek, and I always envisioned one day when I had my Jeep, I'd have kind of more of like a cockpit feel to everything. And based off of setups that I've seen, it's the setup that I ultimately wanted. So let's see, where to start. One thing that'll stand out right away are these grab handles. We've got Carolina Metal Masters, awesome company, who make this really cool, unique brass knuckle style handle, which I thought was really fitting for a vehicle that kind of represented a cool tactical brand. And then going into like the electronic piece, I've got a ton of electronics that are all mounted to a Vector JKU dock, which I don't know what I would have done without, because I've got so much stuff hooked up to it, so it's super functional for me. So we'll go from left to right. I've got my Diablo Sport Trinity 2 tuner. So this is for the supercharger system that I have. It's all my gauges and the tune that's running off the PCM. Off to the right of that, I've got my Kenwood D710G ham radio. This is my weekend project. I've yet to complete it. I still got to get my antenna setup dialed in. There's so many options out there. So that's mounted to a 67 Designs mount. Same with my my iPhone. It's another 67 Designs mount, and I got to be honest, I was a little skeptical at first, and they were like, "Trust us, it's not going to move." Moving on, I got really lucky for two partners that came on. One's Ram Mounts, so they make a mount for everything. So the stuff that 67 Designs couldn't supply, Ram came on, and they both played together nicely. I told them both about each other, and they were fine. So Ram came on to help me out with mounting my Spot. The Spot's kind of a personal piece, because when I was on that mountain up in Wrightwood, separated from my wife and two kids for about 8 hours, the cell phone reception was terrible. And I couldn't get in touch with anyone. I couldn't contact anyone. It was driving me crazy. What this does, Spot provided me 2 of their Spot X's. So now Ashley, my wife, can have one, and I can have one. And then they also gave me a 3rd gen, so I'm going to put that in one of the kids' bags whenever we go out. And they also gave me a Trace, which keeps tabs on the rig. The Spot X's will allow me to text and communicate, even if I don't have cell reception. It'll, as long as I have a clear line of sight with the satellite system. So super thankful for that. And it's nice to have that peace of mind where I can flip that panel, push that button, and I know eventually help's going to come get me. So just a huge peace of mind piece for me. Nice. Off to the right, I've got my my S-Pod, which is a touchscreen switch system. It can control up to, I believe, 32 switches, like four SE pods under the hood or wherever I have it mounted, and I can label each one. It's a really great piece. And then you might see a couple things right here, and these are the Free Spirit ready lights. These are little pods that actually break off of the main piece, and the main piece is actually like a floodlight. And I just keep these. I keep 2 of them at all times. Kind of like the lights I have in my rear. They're just great to have, you know. Yeah. I use them a lot. Nice. Talk to me about like your stuff you got just hanging off the seats back there. Yeah. So I'm the kind of guy, I always want a knife ready and available. So I've got my CFK knife with a custom wooden handle that me and my buddy made. I've also got 2 water bottle pouches on each side for the back. Those are for the kids, so they can have their drinks in there. On the back of the seats, I've also got a series of 511 pouches, which I keep for their notebooks, there's chips, whatever.
Sure.
And also like a portable jump starter. So I've got that in there too.
Yeah, cool. And you've got the headlamps just wrapped around your headrest, which is really convenient.
Yeah. It's just, keeps it out of the way, and I can grab them real quick, throw it on, and get out of the rig.
Yeah.
So if it's at night, it's easy to get.
Yeah. Now you were showing me the charging unit you got behind the seat. What's that all about?
Right. So it's kind of hard to see, but I drilled into the side cubby, and basically it's a quad USB port with a 12-volt port. So the 12-volt port powers the fridge. Those quad USB ports are like indispensable for being able to keep the kids' iPads charged in the back, and for those long road trips, I don't have to worry about their iPads dying and then having to hear them say, "Are we there yet?" 50,000 times.
Nice, awesome. Under your seats, you've got your air compressor, right?
Sure. So we've got the dual air compressor underneath the passenger seat, and that's connected to an innovative JK Products mount, which is on the driver's side and the passenger side. And what that does, it allows it's a 4-tire air system, so there's a dual hose on each side, connects to all 4 tires, and it treats it as 1 tire, so I can air down, air up, all off of that. Right by my right leg, I've got a Team Tech Off-Road holster mount. Being a CCW carrier, I just want to make sure I'm protected in all ways possible on this rig. But I normally just use it for my mic, for my ham, so that's where that goes for now. Underneath the driver's seat, I've got my ham head unit as well as my amplifier for my Kenwood system. Nice. Speaking of which, I do have the Kenwood, it's a full Kenwood Exelon system. Super thankful for them being on board on this project. It's an amazing system. I get to bump all the way to Yosemite, so it's awesome.
Very cool. Very nice.
Ollie, I love your Jeep. You've done so much to it, man. What is the favorite thing that you've done to it?
So I've got to say my favorite thing has got to be that tent right there. That tent is our home away from home. It's the kids love it. It's like a transformer. They climb up and down. The wife loves to like sit up there and read while I'm taking the kids on a little hike, when she's not feeling it. So yeah, it's got to be the tent. Yeah,
that's awesome. Awesome. What is the next thing you've got to do? I mean, you've done all this. I know you're not done though, right?
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, like, leading up to SEMA, I wanted to make sure I wasn't one of those rigs that was kind of like not functional. So everything's good. But the ham system, I'm working with my buddy Matt, Olaf, and Adam to really dial that in. I got to get that antenna set up. So it's got to be the ham, and then I can move on to other stuff.
Okay. What's the favorite trail you've had this Jeep on?
So this is kind of like a little PSA to take care of your trails and keep your trash shoes on and clean up after yourself. But it was unfortunately the Holy Gym Trail with Jeep Hill, and it had a really cool trail that slightly technical that went up, and it had a nice little landing where I took the family and we'd spend like an afternoon just reading books, hanging out. And unfortunately, through people just not policing their areas, not taking care of it, kids going up there drinking, throwing their beer bottles. I mean, you and I did a trail cleanup up there with Rebel. They shut it down. There's K-rails just all the way along the road, and so that awesome trail that was like literally in my backyard, it was like 5 minutes away, it's done. So yeah,
so important to tread lightly when you're out
amazingly important. Yeah.
Okay. Number 1 trail on your bucket list?
Number 1 trail is gonna have to be the Rubicon Trail. Going from getting stuck in 6 inches of mud in a wagon to then accomplishing a trail like the Rubicon, which is like lauded as like one of the most amazing trails out there, I've got to do it. Yeah. So I'm going to be doing that with my brother-in-law Chris, and I'm looking forward to that for 2019.
You'll love it, man. One of my favorite trails. Yeah. Awesome. Now, we already talked about sticky situation because that's how this kind of all evolved. Yeah. Kate the Jeep, how did she get her name? Yeah, so if you notice, we've got AMV, which is the cool 511 all emissions vehicle name. Yeah. But I've gotten a little bit of criticism. They're like, "What's up with Kate the Jeep? It's so soft." I'm like, no, it is like the truest, most honest thing about this rig. Her name is Kate, and it's because of that sticky situation where my kids were genuinely fearful of, especially with me behind the wheel, of us getting stuck. To kind of get them off of that, I took them to Jeep Hill, where those big ruts. We went in like first. It was literally that weekend that I bought the Jeep. Went out there, 4 low, lockers, and we hit it. And they're like bumping around. They're like, "Boys, are we gonna get stuck?"
no, we're not getting stuck. Awesome. So that's checked. And I'm like, what do you want to name her? And they're like, they came up with some names and they finally landed on Kate.
Yeah.
Her name's Kate.
That's what it's all about, man.
Yeah.
It's got to have meaning, and if it means to the kids, that's what's really important.
Yeah, man.
Awesome. Brother, thank you so much.
Dude, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
And, oh, real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Thank you to my wife, Ashley, for putting up with like the last like 6 months of just insanity. Like, honestly, the amount of weekends she had to take care of the kids, like, just me being checked out. So, big, huge thanks to the wife.
It's all about the family. They allow us to do this.
Yep.
Awesome. Guys, I hope you have enjoyed checking out this amazing Jeep. If you're visiting TrailRecon for the first time, please hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss any future content. Thanks for watching.